It's me, Vera, here to remind you that this is an adult podcast. That means we're going to deal with tough topics. Take a break if you need it, and be kind to yourself, because we sure won't be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cracked Crown, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition podcast. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin, joined today by none other than Josh. Welcome back from Japan. Dot,
Hey.
Mark, and Jason.
Konbanwa,
Sometimes I just get confused.
I'm both.
Max, Mark. Yeah, you are both. You are.
I'm wearing the
both.
bathrobe.
First and foremost, welcome back, Josh. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, konnicha. I have
Yeah,
Oh, did you see that?
Rub it in our face.
all that culture. Don't even, Jason. You were just in Japan too.
Yeah, but he was
right?
there more recently than I was, which makes me jealous.
All right, fair enough.
It is
Because
an
every
awesome
time I
place.
think about going there, I want to go back.
I want to just go one day. You know, just before I die, I would just like to go once, and I just want to see
So
all
what?
of the anime.
Pod by
porn
Night
that's
comes to Japan? Pod
Yeah,
by Night
yeah,
does
yeah,
a Japan tour?
I
That's
did
what I heard.
Pod by
everybody.
Night hentai.
I did
series? Is that what we're gonna
inadvertently see
pay for?
more hentai than I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's everywhere out there.
Yeah, fun times.
I don't
can't
know.
tell if
I
that was a
didn't see any.
of wistful remembrance.
I feel like you gotta go
didn't see
looking
any?
for it.
You do
You know,
not.
someone
All right,
was
Josh.
going and looking for it. Just my observation.
Oh, man.
I've never been, so I can't say. I have to trust Jason and just assume that Josh was being a perv. Really trying to keep in character with Shaun while he was gone.
Yeah.
honestly.
Oy vey.
Hey, everybody, thank you guys so much for showing up. Hey, we just want to say thank you for the support. We know we've been gone for about a couple of weeks. I had just like full on clarity. Last week, I woke up with the biggest stomach pain that just didn't go away for like 12 hours. So I apologize that we didn't record last week, but we're back. I'm feeling fine. And I want to say thank you guys for the support. There's been a ton of support here on the Twitch channel specifically ever since, we've been streaming regularly again. We've gotten a ton of subscribers, bits, and so on. Just want you guys to know that goes directly to supporting the cast, paying all those amazing artists who make everything. And if you want more vampire from us and are interested in a more long format with a 4-hour stream, every Saturday, we are also streaming our final season of our SOS trilogy of seasons of Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition as well. That starts at 4 p.m. EST. Is that correct? On
Correct.
Saturdays?
4 p.m.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
EST.
4 p.m. EST. It's me, it's Dot, and sometimes Josh, and maybe some other guests you'll see there, along with Bub when he returns, and Tracy, aka Ava, who you will also see, I think, more of on Pod by Night as we continue to push forward with projects there. Again, we are so thankful for you guys for supporting us. Because of your support that we were able to do this 3rd season in the first place, and because we get to do Cracked Crown. We didn't think we'd make it this far with seasons and stories, so we appreciate your support there.
What were you saying before
and if you
the
don't want to
stream?
drop
We were like number 4
What
in
was that?
Uganda in the podcast charts.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
were
there you
looking
go,
at. I was
something.
looking at the charts. We were number 19 in South Korea. We were number 4 in Uganda and Belize. So we're just crushing it out there.
Yeah.
Thank you to all our
shout
listeners
out,
out there.
to all
shout out to all
you
you guys.
listeners
It's awesome. And the other way you can support us directly is by heading to patreon.com/podbynight. We've got goals that we're trying to meet. All the goals come with extra content, more cool stuff for you. And if you jump onto one of the tiers, you get some cool back-end bonuses, like joining the community game in a certain tier, which in this recording session, I think we'll be referring to a little bit. Along with jumping into our Discord, which is free. But if you're on Patreon, you get a special color, access to special room, and all kinds of cool stuff. So please check it out over there at patreon.com/podbynight. And the simplest way to support the show is just by listening to us, telling your friends about us, putting us on even when you don't need to hear it, to go to sleep to our voices, because it all matters. It all helps. We're just very grateful we get to do this. And I think that's all of the things that I need to push. I don't think I'm missing anything. Obviously, our Twitter has our link tree, so if I did miss something, please go check that out over there. But beyond that, we're just happy to keep playing, and we left off on quite a cliffhanger.
Oh, you
last
know what? I
episode.
do have a shout out, Mathis. We're now
Please, take it
using
away.
fan art. If one of our cast members are
Ooh.
out, we're replacing them with fan art. And this
Oh,
week's
that's
fan
awesome.
art of Duke is by Miss Maja. So if you drop fan art in our Discord, you might get it up on screen.
That's really cool. Hang on, let me look. I didn't notice.
What is it saying? I have procured
I
a
have
lift for you,
procured a
Vera.
gift for you, Vera. That's
a
awesome.
gift or a lift?
That's a serial killer look.
Oh,
Isn't
yeah.
that great? It's such a great piece. So there you go.
That's awesome.
So cool.
Anyway, yeah, that's please throw us art. We get so much cool freaking fan art all the time. I think we have at least like 2 fan arts for pretty much every character in the Discord. So that's we appreciate that. Okay, other than that, I think we're good. So if you're ready, I'm ready, because we're going to open up with the coterie coming back together after an interesting visit to a relatively obscure home stuck in the middle of a suburban area, ignored and neglected. If we're good, then let's set the scene, rein things in, and see what our coterie is up to. It's the sound of muted high heels on concrete that greet our ears as our vision fades in from black. A dim orange light greets our eyes as we see a shadow flickering against another barren concrete wall, age chipped away at some of it with bits of plaster and dust crumbling down the sides. As the shadow passes over and then passes over again, and our camera pulls back ever so slightly, what we see is Vera in the bottom of the tire shop, alone and awaiting the rest of her coterie as the night comes to a close. Shaun, Max, and Robert all had separate goals for the past few evenings, and the first one to return is none other than our young boy Shaun. Vera knows it's him well before he rounds the corner with his hurried footsteps down the stairs, only one set of them, and as he scuffles up, that notorious, almost youthful laziness in his walk, where he doesn't lift his foot quite all the way, and you can hear that slide of shoe on concrete as
And
he
the
moves
clatter
into
of shoelaces.
Yeah, and as he comes to a stop, and you can see his shoelaces half tied or untied entirely, he stands before Vera, presumably with a look of pride.
Yeah,
How
pride,
does Shaun
satisfaction.
carrying himself right now?
He's got a waffle. He's just like, right there. I found a whole bunch of stuff.
I was going to say, did you blush of life?
No, he
Is that
absolutely
something
did
that
not.
So as you watch, he runs in. He's got this full waffle. He clearly hasn't taken a bite of yet. You can see a little bit of the steam still coming off. Probably got it on a side food cart somewhere. And as he takes a bite out of it, before Vera can even stop him, as that warm, supposed to be sweet waffle falls into your tongue, for the first time, without thinking, you don't taste waffle. It tastes like ash. You take a couple of bites and it seems to coat your mouth, and the very first immediate reflex is that to gag and vomit forward. But it is not what you remember as being kind and mortal. It is visceral. Your beast writhes within and rejects it on a very core, fundamental level. This is not food. This is garbage. And then that's when he starts coughing and
Vera
he starts
Vera simply says, "Is that the waffle or your pride you're choking on, Shaun?"
Oh, no. Tastes like ass. No, my pride is very much mostly intact, but like... Sorry.
Would you like to tell me your findings, or are we just going to...
Oh, yeah,
continue
you
to
want
watch
the
try to
report?
consume that awful... Yeah, please.
Yeah. All right. On the Gary News report this evening, we have not very much on Akemba, not anything on Scott Freeman. I found a little about Candy Luciano. She's a crime boss, so she might be easier to find. And I don't know, she might be a vampire, is kind of squiffy. But like, high up on the bulletin, there are some people, some street level players in Gary that you might want to meet. So we've got 6 gangs, if you can call them that. I don't think like collections of 2 or 3 people really count as gangs. I'll be honest. But like,
We'll call them factions.
faction, yeah, sure, factions. All right. We've got the Silk Gauntlet. They seem to be pretty rich. Corpsemongers, can't find them where they live, but they're all over the place. Kind of scary. Maybe they eat people, who knows. Lucid, they're fucking crazy. The alphas seem to be very interested in hunting down werewolves. Young Bravos, they're my favorite, honestly. They like to party, so I'll get in there eventually. We got who else we got? Oh, we got Magi of the Dark Mother, which sounds a bit pretentious, but apparently they can do magic, so maybe I want to talk to them as well.
Do you have a location for these factions?
Yeah. I can.
Do me a favor and write instructions down for John. He's going to deliver an invitation.
Yeah, sure. If he'll listen to me.
No, I said write it down.
Oh yeah, all right.
As Vera kind of instructs her to let John know, it's interesting that they use the term faction, Vera, as if they're just groups of 2 or 3 people. That's almost the definition of a coterie. A faction indicates much larger numbers, and while it is interesting, perhaps, to Vera that there are about 5 or 6 of these groups of 3, which would indicate an overpopulation of kindred in Gary for what small population of kind it has, which could cause problems. Automatically it seems like they're trying to walk with more power than they have, especially if they're only a couple of kindred strong.
So let's see. 5 factions. 5.
6.
6
Wait,
factions.
did I say 5?
No, you might have said 6. I stopped listening. So.
As is like confusion, you actually hear some footsteps, noise, and the murmuring of a familiar gruff voice mixed with that of one of high prosperity.
Oh,
as the
back.
2 of them scamper in. Then you guys are walking into, first Shaun is standing before you. Duke is notably missing, and she and Shaun are, you could hear them as you were approaching, talking about factions in Gary, Indiana.
Just in time. Welcome, gentlemen. We are going through a little math lesson if you'd like to join us.
Yeah, well, maybe the arithmetic can wait, Vera, because we got a problem.
Oh?
Yeah, that house you sent us to check out, there's some crazy stuff going on there, like magic stuff. And Max essentially describes...
Like demons in basements?
Yeah, exactly. Basement in particular. And Max goes on to describe exactly what they found in the basement. I don't know, some woman, girl, she's chained up, restrained in some kind of, what do you call them? Thaumaturgic, I don't know, magic circle, right? And there's all these voices.
Is this like the strange child we found in the graveyard?
Yeah, not quite like that.
While I was going to say, maybe to a layman who may not understand, they probably look similar, but having seen it firsthand, Max, having seen the demon thing and then seen this, it's not the same.
Not quite like that. There's all these voices coming out of her, like a legion. What do you call it? A plethora of voices are coming out of this one person, which is a little odd. And I thought it best to leave it be. I don't really like this magic stuff. But I figured breaking the circle or whatnot could make things a lot worse. Also, there's a pair of humans upstairs. There's, are there some kind of whammy, maybe? I don't know. Maybe they're just good at lying. If the second thing is right, then we should get back there right away before they can clean things up.
Interesting. So the ex-prince is hiding 2 whammied kine and a vessel downstairs of some kind.
Yeah, vessel's a good way to
My
put it.
My question is why?
Well,
why?
My thought is,
and more
the whammied humans, kind, if you prefer. I think they might just be there as cover, so that somebody's living upstairs.
Do you tell Vera of the thing you heard it say at the end? If you need a reminder of exactly what it says, I can tell you.
He also looks over to Robert.
It basically said, yeah, it says Robert will walk in the blood of the apocalypse once again.
Well, that's not
Also-
the first time that someone has bestowed that sort of gobbledygook upon me, and it certainly won't be the last. So, walk amongst the blood of this or that. It all in day's work, am I right?
Robert, have you walked through an apocalypse?
No, technically no. No, like genuinely, if Robert thinks for a moment through his life and unlife, nothing rings of apocalypse.
Well, I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder, but I suppose, no, I haven't walked through an actual apocalypse.
So, just for my clarification, you went down in this basement that's
Mhm.
kind of hidden. There's a chained woman who is a vessel who is talking about a Robert prophecy?
Well,
I mean,
among
Robert
other
is a very
things.
common name. It could have just been a coincidence.
Yeah, and to be fair, there were a lot of voices
Yeah,
saying
true.
a lot of different things, so that one just sort of stood out because I happened to be standing next to a guy named Robert.
Was this anything like that time we turned a Thin Blood into goop?
Well, so here's my concern, right? We left New York because there were demons and basements and plottings, and we were the fall people. I'm not really interested in any of that. Jackson specifically asked us to, woo Gary in his favor and the Camarilla's favor. So, I'd say this is somebody else's problem.
Yeah, it was a bit extracurricular for my tastes.
Right? I mean, the woman was chained. And didn't Garrett say there was like treasure there, something valuable?
Yeah, well, he had a lot of places written down.
I mean, Garrett is probably the least reliable person I think we've ever met.
I'm offended.
In my short time with you,
I'm telling you, he's going to show up with exactly what I asked because I paid him well. Garrett just hasn't been paid well enough for his loyalty.
So,
That being said, I have good news. Would we like to hear that? Why, we pontificate on the crazy vessel in the basement.
sure.
of course.
Okay. Vera rolls out old blueprint plans. This is going to be our new haven. There's an old bank in downtown Gary, Indiana, long forgotten. The vault is still intact.
Robert actually would know of this bank, simply for the time he spent in Chicago. It's a place that the old prince at one point enjoyed keeping prisoners for interrogation purposes. This was decades ago, though. But just something Robert would know.
Great. So we're going to sleep in a prison. Excellent.
Well, no, it is not a prison any longer. It is going to be a legitimate bank. In
Right.
which we are going to funnel money into Gary, Indiana.
Just want to clear this up, Vera. Are the tellers going to wear, like, I don't know, thongs and pasties, or is this along the same lines as that business
Not
plan?
this time around.
Okay, all right.
What?
Because,
No,
I mean,
that's a different business model.
That's the tire place.
I never imagined
Okay.
that of you, Max.
No. I just
Keep it
thought
in your
I just
pants.
thought that was the business we were in now.
That could increase customer popularity.
There's that. So Robert does say, no, this isn't the tire shop. And Shaun, you have no idea what he's talking about.
Shaun, there are going to be more new businesses popping up in Gary, and one of which is going to be our tire shop, of course. But I had an idea.
Go on.
What is worse than sitting and having your tires changed? Probably nothing. Smelly men covered in grease, squeezing into their jumpsuits. So I said, what if getting your tires changed is more like, I don't know, going to a strip club?
I don't know.
What? It's a good business model. We're going to call it honkers.
Somehow, even when Vera is describing the gross men, she weirdly makes it sound attractive. Squeezing into their tight suits, weirdly greased up, and she's saying it with such disgust that she truly does not like the thought of it, and yet the way the words fall from Toreador lips, it still sounds weirdly attractive.
So, Shaun, I'm going to need your expertise when it comes to really
Uh,
people person.
You want me as a talent scout?
Well, I have a talent scout. I'm paying him very well. No, I'm more interested in your managerial abilities of such a place.
Have you met me? No,
Yes,
I
Shaun.
did. I
have.
am. I could give it a go, but like, I don't. Surely that's a thing for Duke.
Well, don't fret. Duke has a bank to run.
Also,
Right.
Duke is gone. Shaun does not know
And
this.
Duke is on a hiatus at the moment, and since you're posing as a
Okay.
Vintru, I thought, an apt business might actually help your cover.
More like a
Okay.
Van False, am I right?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh man,
hadn't thought of
he's
that.
supposed to have been a Ventru this whole time because I was not getting that. That is not what I was getting from that.
Well, this is the point. Duke is not here to cover your ass, Shaun, so I thought maybe just, you could run a business with beautiful people changing tires and getting greased up.
Changing tires, changing clothes. I get it. A attractive proposition. If you don't find anyone else, I'll do it. But one other thing that I found out while I was out there is that there are a lot of how do I put this? Opportunities in the pharmaceuticals market.
Ooh. Well, we are going to... are we really going to sell drugs again? I've been doing this for like 50 years.
It's what I know. It's what I'm good at.
All right, fine. At least the tire business will be a good front. Cars coming and going. It's an easy way in and out transportation. But most importantly, the tire shop, as drawing as it may be, is actually, in fact, a trap.
Or who?
For the gun runners coming in and out of Gary, Indiana.
Oh, there's gun runners? I missed that one.
Yes, there seems to be guns coming in and out, and some corporation Duke has been looking into tied to potentially both the Lupine and the SI, and I would like to get to the bottom of it. I suspect that trucks do not run well if their tires are busted. So we are
Okay.
going to set up a fair share of traps in and out of Gary, Indiana in the late night hours, as Honkers is a late night tire shop.
A late night tire shop. Oh, this is why don't we have this IRL?
Right? Everybody gets their tires changed after they're done with work, or whatever mortals do. So,
Tires by
I
night.
thought...
Tires by night. Oh my god, and I hate all of this.
I love it so much. Honkers, tires by night. Yes, I can see it on the sign now.
Okay, so we have to have one-off mortal game of all the workers who work in tires by night.
And tires by night. That's a different podcast for a different day, but I think what I'm saying is, if we take their tires out and the only tire shop in town open late, because they are, of course, kindred running guns, they're going to have to come to us.
Yeah. Well, if there's an opportunity in clandestine, underhanded criminality, I'm in. Because you can't
Yes,
have
I
drugs
suspect there
without
will be plenty.
guns. Because they just.
But the goal is to stop the guns. But yes, Shaun, we'll make sure
Yeah, but
that you can
we'll
run
end up with the guns, right?
guns and drugs.
That sounds like my kind of empire.
Yeah,
I
you
thought
see,
so.
kid,
Now-
and this is why I thought the bank tellers were all going to be wearing skimpy clothes and
that
being
makes
saucy
sense
and
now.
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you weren't a pervert.
But here's the question: why aren't the bank
Well-
tellers wearing skimpy clothes and being saucy? I mean, if this sound business model could be applied to a tire shop, then it stands to reason it could likewise be applied to this banking interest that we have.
Okay, well, here's the question. When you come to get your tires changed, you're putting down some money, and you trust that at least these hopefully beautiful people in skimpy outfits are in fact going to put new tires. Would you trust the same skimpy people with, say, a large sum of $1 billion put into a bank?
$1
$1 billion?
$1 billion? Who's got that kind of change to throw around?
I'm talking hypothetically, and eventually Vera Volkov will.
Yeah. Well, financials has
Look, if
never
you
been
think I'm
my
going to make $1
thing.
billion running drugs in and out by selling them on the backside of paintings, I'm getting too old for that shit.
So what's the new plan? We got a bank.
So the new plan
We got a tire
is
shop.
to become an investor, yes, and slowly build Gary into something worthwhile so I can trade it back to Jackson for both the prestige, the hotel, and the money we are rightfully deserved. And then we can set ourselves up in Chicago for the perfect retirement.
Okay, Vera, but this is all kind of long-range stuff that's a little out of my wheelhouse. My question for you is,
That is true.
what do we do about this house? You want to just leave it alone?
Okay,
You want
that
me to
is
go
an-
back and burn the place down?
I feel like that's maybe a little drastic for Gary. Small news, small town, big gossip.
I could go back and have a look. It's not like I know everything about magic, but I'm learning.
What we need is to get the two humans out of the house. We need a good distraction, something that would draw them out. You said they're older.
Yeah. Yeah, what, about 50s or so, as I recall?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Which
I thought
isn't
they
so
were
old,
yours.
which is not very old. I want to be very clear.
No,
That
no,
is
no.
prime of
Okay,
life.
so they
I
are.
thought
Yeah.
Well,
they were
especially
more
to you, Kindred,
elderly,
they'd be young.
From what I understand, from what I remember.
Since we're all not ageist here anyway, and we
No.
definitely think 50 is young because I'm 100.
It better be, because I'm knocking on the door 40 and I'll be there soon. So,
So,
dude, it's
that
not
being
old.
said,
Call
you
me
said
and
you made
Mark
contact
when
with the
you
local.
grow up.
Do I get like, is there a club membership to join after you hit 40?
Actually, there is. It's called the AARP.
Yay! Yes.
Now, you said you made contact with the local Nosferatu.
I did, yeah.
Or
Like
tried.
like I say, the grand poobah of the whole place seems a little cagey. He's supposed to be a little eccentric, even for a Nos that's old. So, haven't actually made direct contact with them yet.
All right. If we're going to do this, let's do it.
Sorry,
right.
I just want to intervene for a moment, just for Vera's sake, as she's putting pieces together. It's becoming more and more clear how overpopulated the kindred is in Gary. The more there's these Nos who's being led by, somebody else, plus 6 groups of other people, and Gary's already been being abandoned by mortals in the droves since the 60s and 70s after the steel industry crashed around here. Yeah, it's becoming apparent to Vera, if this matters to her. And it would be apparent to everybody else, but as she's sitting there pondering, Gary has got a kindred overpopulation problem. It's you imagine it's probably power is up for grabs. So anyone desperate for any sliver of power, no matter how much of a pile of rubbish it is, we're going for it.
One question.
Alright, so-
what was the name of the Nosferatu that I know I hadn't actually directly made contact with? This.
I'll get that for you. I have my note. Let me get my notes open.
But
Sorry.
essentially, I passed that
So-
on to Vera, so she knows all the players involved.
All right. Let's go back to the math lesson. 6 factions, roughly 3 kindred apiece. 18 kindred easy on the unclaimed factions of Gary, Indiana. Before you get to the loners, the werewolves, and probably unregistered kindred as well, like the ones hidden in this basement. Gary is not large enough for the kindred population. I want to know how many Nosferatu there are. Rumor has it that they are the largest clan in Gary.
Yeah, from what I can gather, there's a fair number. And again, to the best of my investigations, they all answer to Alexander Danov. Now, he's supposed to be
Alexander
old,
Danov.
and I'm talking old. Been around quite a while.
Good. He probably has all the information we actually need. The question is whether or not we can get him to give it to us.
From what I understand, he's a little weird, but it's more... it's not the kind of weird where he's going to rip your face off. More odd.
I have a bad idea. 2, in fact.
More strip clubs?
No, not more strip clubs. Gary has plenty of those. No, overpopulation. In the past, when the Camarilla has needed to deal with such things, they have taken drastic measures. I should know I was one of them. The last thing we need is an actual problem in Gary where there's not enough blood to go around. Or worse, they start eating each other.
So, what are you suggesting, Vera?
We need to set in place some regulations. A way to regulate blood for the kind, or for the kindred of this city. More importantly, if things get really out of hand, if it is in fact Camarilla territory now, there are certain things that can be done. But I'm only interested in working with those that will participate with us being here. And until we have a full census of Gary, it's going to be hard to find out who's on our side and who is not. And honestly, if they are troublemakers, they are disposable.
Sure.
So I have a question then, as far as how Vera is thinking here in the coteries feelings. You were, by and large, given by Jackson, essentially power to do as you will within this area. They called it your domain. He said, just as long as you're operating under Camarilla law and you have you're basically operating as an extension of Jackson's arm to wrest control over Gary. He didn't say how much and what you could do. Are you looking to implement proper, say, princedom rules, such as making it forbidden to sire, and temporarily, that kind of thing, where there's like no one in or out of the city, or only no one permanent in the city, kind of thing? What is Vera? Because if you do choose to say that and put that forward as a ruling with the backing of Jackson and the Camarilla, I mean, you would very quickly find out who would be pro Camarilla and who wouldn't. However, you do risk immediately rising tensions to a boiling point to those who probably don't follow the Camarilla. So I'm merely asking, is Vera thinking of cranking the heat up immediately, or if she's looking to kind of make it quote unquote legit law, or is she looking to do it in a more subtle way, with a slower boil? I'm curious.
Do you all remember having to take medicine as a child?
You hold your nose.
I'm curious if Robert does. What was medicine like in the early 1800s?
It was all laudanum.
Bloodletting?
There was no
Yeah, it was laudanum and bloodletting.
There was no spoonfuls of sugar, I'll tell you that.
Well, I can tell you, you have read my mind. To make them take the hard medicine, which is the Camarilla is going to take Gary, Indiana back, and it is going to instill the Masquerade upon this place. We should feed it to them slowly, with spoonfuls of sugar, each and every time.
Okay, where do we start?
Well, we're going to have to start with getting everybody to understand why they can't just sire at random, why our population is growing. And once the bank is set up, Max, you have in the past had your hands dabbling in bags of blood and running of such things.
Yeah, sure.
I like the idea that the bank is, well, a cover for a bank. Once we control all the blood feeding Gary, Indiana, we also control the kindred.
Okay. Well, they got local hospitals, but if we're talking about a large-scale operation, they're going to notice that missing. All I've done before is, take for my own needs, whether it was personally or through my buddy Sam.
What we need is a connection either to the hospital or a local morgue.
Morgue. Again,
Let me think on this.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know how many baggers we got in the local population. I can get by on eating scabs, but most are not going to want to eat that. No, they're good. They're
Well,
chewy.
may-
They're chewy. They're nice.
Last time I checked, we might have a few willing bodies coming into this tire shop. What if we run the blood bank out of here?
Possible, I guess. I mean, there's always also the possibility of live donors, right?
True.
Vera, Max, and Robert, you all may make me a resolve intelligence check. Shaun, your character is unfortunately probably too young to know of what they're maybe I'm asking them to roll for.
It's all right.
Okay.
And not exactly as well integrated into the politics as they all have been over the years. As you guys are talking about running blood through, something that you've all heard of and maybe even bumped into somebody who was a part of it at some point, there is a system amongst kind or kindred that is international called the circulatory system. And being part of that, having contacts within that, is a blood trafficking system between cities, states, and countries. This is something you would have probably remembered in this moment, and there is a lore sheet for it if that's something you do have interest in. But this is an actual thing that exists within the kindred world that you could work toward becoming part of or try to bring into Gary, Indiana for one reason or another. Yeah, it's in I think it's just in the core V5 book if I remember correctly, but you can basically you can once per story request a specific type of vessel from the circulatory system all the way up to the 5 points where the character knows the system's secret methods for taste, analysis, refinement. You can replicate them. You can do all you have contacts and allies, haven merits. Basically, you can turn the bank into a very proper circulatory system.
That's what I'm actually thinking. Think about
Yeah.
it. How many times do you take somebody behind to get a, set up a new account or a
I will
door
get
here or a
you
door there? It is a
quick
good cover.
reference here.
And if we
Quite good.
get all of the employees of the bank to, say, volunteer, as Shaun said, it could be a pretty easy buy-in, both for cash money and for, well, of course, the biggest resource we all need.
True enough.
You've qualified for a new credit card. Just follow me behind this door.
And, it would at least give us a chance to get to know the kindred of the city and to give them an opportunity not to have to feed on the streets. Which allows us to at least regulate some of the feeding going on and potential masquerade breaches.
No, everyone's
That
got
being said,
And I'm just thinking, you make blood easy and available for most people, that's great, but not everyone's going to want it that way.
that is true. Those are the ones that we actually have to be worried about. Because more than likely, they're not only going to rebel against free and open blood, they're also going to rebel against any kind of structure that we attempt to put into place. Which is why we have to make them think they are putting the structure into place. I'd like to see these factions show up to the party. Who represents, who cares about Gary, Indiana? Because if they show up, we might be able to, I don't know, smooth them out of some information about what they really care about. I don't have interest in gentrifying this place, or staying long term. I simply want to give it, some help. Because I imagine every one of us in this room understands what it's like to be at the wrong end of the social spectrum, or to be unwanted, unliked, and forgotten about. And that is the situation with Gary, Indiana, and every kindred in it.
I have absolutely no idea what you mean, Vera.
Says Max as he just uses a bit of garbage to wipe his mouth.
I know you don't, Max.
As you finish wiping the garbage, Max Jr. crawls up onto your shoulder and paws at it to take it from you. And as you hand it over, it kind of starts playing with it and biting on it.
So what I'm going to do at this little shindig, two things. I already mentioned John is selling all of the assets out of this little suburbia home of the ex-prince. I'm gonna bundle the money and leave it in the upstairs area of the home. When the party is done, I imagine one, if not all of them, may find it. I want to see if they fight over it, what they use it for. It'll be probably a measly amount of money, but Money brings out both the best and worst in people. More importantly, I want to hear their concerns, give them a platform to speak and share their ideas and needs. But what I really want is for them to gather, for them to become the committee. Because when the mass voice of Gary, Indiana, speaks out about their needs, and they begin putting rules and regulations in place, they can't call it the Masquerade. Everybody here needs to believe that they have control over what's happening until the end when Jackson moves in and takes over.
Okay, I mean, sounds like quite the scheme. But,
I mean,
to
isn't
get
all life?
to get back to that thing I was talking about, what do you want me to do with that house?
Right. I have an idea for that, too.
Yeah, should I?
All right. Let's give Shaun a stab. Whatever you do, do not release the woman, and, please don't cause a scene, because honestly, the second best option is to just drop a line to the local lupine and let them handle it.
Okay.
I don't know any werewolves.
I imagine they'll make themselves known very quickly. We've
Okay.
only been here a few days. But have fun. I'm going to sit here and maybe decide what drapes are going in the bank.
Okay.
Cool.
I gotta check in with Adelaide.
Oh, and speaking of, on the block with the bank, there are two restaurants, a bit run down and collapsed right now, but the diner is still in safe structural condition. It's next door, and nobody has shown any interest in purchasing it. I thought maybe might be a good place to keep Adelaide close to the bank.
Could be.
Unless she wants to hang out at our Honker's tire shop.
Well, I don't know if that's her speed, but in
My
any
thought
case,
exactly.
wherever she goes, I go. So if my
Of
haven is
course.
the bank, so's hers.
So be it.
As the conversation whittles to a close and people begin to go their separate ways, taking care of Adelaide, settling in as the night comes to a close and the sun is up in just a few hours, we'll soft cut over to Shaun, halfway down the street as he rounds a block. And what you see before you is unassuming. It's a street lined with single-story homes with very little space in between them, each of them having a small front yard, street lights that mostly work, sparing one or two, and cars lining both sides of the street. Most of the homes themselves are dark for the most part, as it is rather late, but a few have some straggling lights on the inside. As you walk down the street, the house that you are looking for should be just ahead. And as you look up, you don't see police cars or any sort of emergency vehicles that have showed up to handle it, indicating that at the very least the couple, if the cops came, they came and went quickly, or they never showed up at all. But as you're continuing to walk down the street on the sidewalk, Shaun, can I get a wits awareness, please? And tell me how many successes you roll. Perfect. As you're strolling, you don't see anything. It's a noise, a sound. It sounds like someone saying your name, but it's mixed and almost a whispered tone. It catches Shaun off guard and he stops to look around for a moment. And as you do, you catch your own face in the reflection of a window of a parked vehicle. Except your reflection seems to be acting ever so slightly differently than you. As you take a step forward, your own reflection speaks your name again, but it sounds just as distant, muddled, and you're not entirely sure if it's your voice. You watch as your reflection reaches up with its own hands. Its fingernails dig into the skin around your eyes. Thick vitae trickles down as your fingernails dig deeper, stoically staring, until you have a grip on each side and you forcefully begin to tear away at that skin. Veins and tissue clinging, chunks of flesh still hanging. And as time goes, your reflection rips its entire face off. Bits of hair stick out. Flesh hangs as teeth stick through flesh. And you continue to dig your nails in and slowly peel your flesh off like a rotting fruit. It takes a moment, but you recognize the face underneath. It is your face, and yet not your face. It belongs to Father. He stares at you as you stare at him, and he says your name one last time. As Shaun blinks, and everything seems normal. And on that confused blink, the episode cuts. And we'll pick back up next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.